Hey, what's up, y'all? I normally don't do this, but I'm making a reaction video to a movie I'm watching on Netflix called Adolescence. Two people called me and said, "Oh, you got to see this because of the work you do around masculinity and men." And then I heard a broadcast on NPR about it, so I was intrigued and ready to check it out. And so I watched 3 episodes last night. I'm gonna watch the fourth one tonight, and I've listened to some other reaction videos from it. So here's my take. Episode one. It is, well, let me say this. As I watch these reaction videos, I keep hearing people say the episode started with this little boy's house being raided. Now, this documentary, this series is all about a little boy who was accused of murdering a 13-year-old girl. He 13, she 13, something like that. Adolescence. Makes sense, right? And it's like, oh, it starts off with his house being raided by the police when they come arrest him. But actually, what happens, the scene before that, the detective gets a call from his son, and his son wants to miss school. He was like, "Oh, Dad, I ain't feeling good. I won't go to school." And the detective is like, "Man, this guy." And I think it sets the tone for the that episode, and ultimately the series about how clueless and lost adults are because come to find out the little boy is being bullied, which is probably why he don't want to go to school. And the dad kind of thinks he's just, the normal reasons why kids don't want to go to school. They're tired or don't like school or whatever. And I'm not saying that the parents should actually know that, but it's just, again, throughout this series and episode one and two, you just see how clueless we are. Well, it rolls on. The little boy is arrested. He claims that he is innocent, that he didn't do anything. His father and mother are pulled into this turmoil. At one point, the daddy had to just ask him, look, straight up, did you do this? Which I thought was, okay, that's good. He ain't going to just assume, my son didn't do nothing. He actually had to have that conversation with the boy. Did you do this? Tell me the truth. And of course, the little boy was like, no, I promise. Well, by the end of season episode one, you realize he lied. That boy lied. He did something. But even once they show him a video of himself repeatedly stabbing this little girl, and it's clear to the daddy that it's the little boy still says, I ain't do nothing wrong. And so we're not really sure what's going on. The detective, which is a black guy, this is a British film, his whole thing is why. He works with this woman detective, and we see in episode two, which I'll talk about later. She like, we don't really got to worry about why. You know, I heard somebody on their reaction video say the same thing. Why is not important. I don't know about that. I really feel the why is what we can, as a storyteller, the why is so important. Why are you doing this? Because there may be a reason or an explanation that we can resolve. Not how you did it or when you did it, but why you did it is kind of the crux of it to me. Of course, we found out later on there's a bunch of other stuff going on, which I'll talk about later. But the boy is arrested. He lies to his lawyer, to his dad, and actually to himself, because I think he might have convinced himself that he didn't do nothing wrong to some degree. He ends up meeting with a therapist in episode three. That is, people see as the most powerful episode. I actually see episode two as it just gives us so much insight of what's going on. And again, episode one really lets me know, as a youth advocate, as a person who's been working with youth for over 30 years, how clueless we can become and how detached we can become from kids, specifically in spaces that this could happen. It's one thing not to know what's in style or what's the latest dance move on TikTok, but when we just disconnected from our kids, to not even know if they're capable of doing stuff like this. Yeah, and I don't know if any parent would know that necessarily, but I just know that the language that's used in this film, or what's going on in this film, the world that these kids are a part of, episode 2 shows us that the adults have nothing. They're not even in the same stratosphere. And I think episode 1 really shows that when the daddy is talking to the boy at the beginning. So I've been accused of the same thing and found guilty of not listening to kids who are trying to tell me stuff. I had a group of girls work with me one time and said, we want to talk to you, they said, but we only want you to listen. Don't say nothing. And it was hard, but they was giving me the business. Well, you this, you that. I'm like, what? They told me, don't, just listen. So I even took notes, and yeah, we got to do a better job of listening to our kids, what they saying, what they're not saying, what they're trying to say but don't know how to articulate, like the situation in the boy not wanting to go to school. At some point, you got to say why. Instead of just saying, well, I know I didn't want to go to school because he don't want to do it. Why every Thursday this boy don't want to go to school? And it wasn't that simplistic, of course, but yeah, because we know what's going on in schools to some degree. So at some point, we got to be like, why? What is going on? What is going on? Why is this always happening? As assuming, instead of assuming that we know the answers. Because this film shows us that we don't know not only the answers, but we don't even know the questions.